안녕하세요.
안녕하세요 and welcome to Drama Side Chats with Sid and Jess.
Today we're going to talk about surprising villains.
So sometimes we have villains that we definitely know who's the villain in a show, but for these dramas that we're going to talk about today, we weren't sure watching those who was going to actually be the villain. And that is wonderful because Sid and I have a habit of predicting who the villain is, even when they're trying to keep it a secret. So these are some really top choice dramas in terms of surprising villains.
And not only are they surprising, but they make sense because sometimes they'll try to like purposely make a villain out of nothing. And you're like, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. But these villains, they work for the plot, they move it forward, and they're very logical and wise. And oh, that makes sense choice for a villain.
Exactly. So our first selection for our villain that's sort of surprising um, is from the show My Shy Boss, also called My Introverted Boss.
Yes. And what's surprising about this, I think, is I mean, even looking at the poster, it looks like it's just going to be a typical, office romance type drama, but there are a lot of surprising elements in this show overall, right?
Absolutely. And it's such a cute show, but there are serious trigger warnings. So don't go into that thinking you're watching something lighthearted and sweet. You think it's going to be a romance, opposites attract kind of cute story, but there are much more profound themes involved in this show than that.
Yeah.
Um, So we ended up having a lot of sympathy actually for the male lead and other characters in there in ways you don't expect. And some apparent villains are ones with whom you do find yourself sympathizing with. It's a very complex sort of story in that, much more so than the poster would lead you to believe.
Yeah. And I feel like early in the show, the people that you think are like the obvious villains, you end up feeling sympathetic for them. And then the surprising villains come up. And you're like, oh, I didn't even think of this, but it makes sense. And there's like an underlying cause to it. And you're like, ah, I get it now.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, and then we find out, yeah, we can see who the real villains are, the real causal villains, but they're not at all who you would expect.
Right.
So, all right. So our next choice for surprising villains, next choice for surprising villains is from Flower of Evil.
Oh, this show is so amazing. This is one of the top shows of all time for me. It's just so well done.
Yeah, I was afraid to watch it because I thought it looked too dark until you convinced me to give it a try, and I'm so glad that I listened to you because it was such a deep and involved story. And you get super drawn in and you really want to know like who is the villain? Who is the villain? I
And
felt
there's
like
multiple sides to like all the characters too. It's like there's not
yeah,
a clear-cut definition of who is evil and why they're evil.
but you're definitely sure somebody is,
Right.
and maybe multiple somebodies. And it even kind of makes us question, well, what even is it to be evil? And you're asking yourself, like, well, how do you know if somebody is a psychopath or just emotionally dead? And I love how we see the characters asking themselves these kinds of questions. Like, how do you
Yeah.
know if this person is really evil that you're interacting with? So I love the
And,
slow reveal burn on that. And
and even with, all those questions about what is evil, who is evil, there's still just like amazing relationships between all the characters, between the male lead, the female lead, between the male lead and the daughter, between the siblings. There's just so many deep relationships in this drama.
absolutely. And I really like too when they talk about, or maybe not so explicitly, but there's this whole theme in it of rebuilding after trauma. And trying to find like a sense of stability and balance in life after traumatic events. And I really feel like that's an empowering sort of thing. But again, as with probably all of them in this particular list of dramas that we're covering, there are trigger warnings. There are some serious events that are happening in these
Yeah.
stories. So,
Serious issues. And another thing about this drama, it really keeps you guessing, but everything that gets revealed makes sense. And so I like that about it as well. It's just a
for
great
sure.
drama. If you haven't seen it, watch it.
Yes, Flower of Evil for sure. Okay, and our next video that we wanted to talk about with you all is Lawless Lawyer.
Which stars the same male lead, by the way.
Yes. So if you were watching these in a particular order, like it makes sense to go from Flower of Evil to Lawless Lawyer.
And
Where
that's what I did. Like Flower of Evil was so good. I was like, I have to see what else Ijungi is in. And it led me to this one. I was like, oh, this is excellent too.
not only that, but after the downer of the emotional experience of watching Flower of Evil, Lawless Lawyer is much more upbeat, much more like fun, even though there's some dark world stuff going on.
Yeah, you're right.
It,
There is some
it
fun in Lawless Lawyer.
it's a lot more peppy. The music is kind of jaunty and whatnot, and you just yeah. I also really like that there are some like basic mini villains that are kind of redeemed early on
Hmm.
where you're just like, oh, okay, we'll accept you. And even, along the way you find a lot of different characters who might in a lot of other circumstances be considered to be bad guys that people might avoid, but you kind of just accept them as part of the story, like, oh yeah, these guys are fine.
I also like, we didn't mention this, but in both of them, in Flower of Evil and Lawless Lawyer, there are really good female leads as well. They're not the
Yeah, they're
wimpy, save
yeah,
me female leads. They have a personality. They're three-dimensional. They're strong women. So both of them have really good female leads.
that's true. And unlike in My Shy Boss, where she was basically a Cinderella character, like where she's just like rage, rage, rage all the time, they were much more complex characters.
Right.
There is
Well
a little
developed.
bit of like stalking feeling going on in Lawless Lawyer that is a little bit off-putting, but I felt like that made more sense as the story went on.
Yeah. Yeah. You kind of
Um,
understand this. You see the underlying reason why. And
yeah, and again, that one we don't see who the real villain is revealed for a pretty long time. And even then it's hard to really reconcile at first until like as the story goes on, you're like, oh yeah, that does make sense.
yeah.
That
And
does
then
make sense with the plot.
the big baddie. Yeah. The big baddie
Mhm.
is so clever and manipulative that it's like, oh, okay. Now I can see. Yeah. It's well
Yeah.
done.
Yeah, you're probably not gonna guess super easily, but at the same time, you're like, I mean, you might guess, but you would be like, well, I don't have any evidence to support this until later on when you're like, you start building up the evidence, and you're like, oh, okay, well, now that I know all this stuff, then I can be certain that it's this person. So it's just really cool. So yeah, so then we have a show that I've seen that Sib has not.
I
So
haven't seen it, so you have to convince me that it's
I'm gonna
worthwhile,
convince you. Okay, if you like Lawless Lawyer,
which I did.
Vincenzo is super similar in a lot of ways, but also very much its own thing. I love how much Italian they sprinkle in this because our main lead, Vincenzo, has spent a lot of time in Italy working for the mafia. And so but he's our protagonist that we're following through the story. So we have to find out, is he also a villain? And who else is a villain in the story? So it's very similar in a lot of ways to Loveless Lawyer. We also have, some like basic mini villains who are redeemed early on. It has this very community building sort of aspect to it, which is very cool and fun. But and again, it has us always questioning who the villain is because again, it's a very different story still, but it has a lot of like common plot elements to Loveless Lawyer. I don't want to overshare on that one, but it's so fun. The female lead is very powerful, very interesting character. I love how she interacts with the various other characters in the show. Again, I don't want to reveal too much about who's doing what, but the villain in that does a really great job of hiding their true colors from others and using a puppet villain or even several puppet villains to accomplish their goals. So you're always kind of wondering, well, like, where is this coming from? Where is this coming from? Until eventually you get the big reveal and you're like, oh, okay,
Hmm.
that was actually pretty slick. So you might have suspected it, but you might have also second guessed yourself because, like, well, does that make sense? I don't know.
Okay.
So we have one more for this particular episode that we're going to share, and it's one I haven't seen.
Yeah. So I have seen 365 Repeat the Year, and you have not seen 365 Repeat the Year. And I just think it is a very well done time travel drama. Like to me, time travel is hard to do well because it's like, so what happens? Do you just go back and do it again? Are the main characters stuck in different times? It's like, how do you end a time travel drama? So I think it's very well done. There is zero explanation as to why the time travel works, and there's no need for it. It's amazing. It's like they don't try to get all technical and be like, "Well, I have this machine and have the quantum flux capacitor and all the kind of stuff." There is none of that.
And I
There's
love that
time
about
travel,
K-dramas. They do not try to explain the time travel. Like
right?
they're just like live up to your name, and in some of these other ones, Hello Me. I think there was another one where they, what was the one song, something My Only Love Song. They're like,
Yeah,
no, we don't need to explain it.
yeah. And somehow it works. There was just zero explanation. We can time travel, and we're gonna do it. But there is a mystery as to how many times this time travel has happened already. Because as you can see by the name, it's 365. So you go back a year. And
Right.
so the question is, wait, is this the first time? Is this like the 1000th time? Like how many times has this happened? So that's a big mystery. And this drama, it just keeps you guessing at every turn. There's tons of false flags. You don't know who the true villain is. You don't know who is manipulating things. But once it's revealed, everything just falls into place and everything just makes complete sense. And you're like, oh, I get it now. And I just love how everything fits and how it's so logical and it works so well. And also on a side note, there's a character in this drama that has like the best ponytail ever. I mean, it's like Ariana Grande level ponytail. It's like, dang, her ponytail game is strong.
You
So you
know,
should watch it
that's
just for that.
underappreciated elements, like having a great ponytail. Not everybody realizes how important that is.
Very good ponytail.
I love it. I love it. Oh, cool. So that completes our list, for at least this time, for the
Yeah.
most surprising villains. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you haven't seen these shows yet, I hope we haven't spoiled anything too much for you. We really, because they're surprising villains, we didn't feel like we could just come out and be like, "Hey, this person was so blah
It's
blah
so and
blah."
so. Yeah. We
So
tried
yeah,
really hard. We tried really hard not to reveal who the villains are, but just that they are surprising and you need to watch it. So watch these dramas.
yes, watch them all of them, all at once right now. Just turn us off and go watch them. And that's a end of our episode today of Drama Side Chats with Sid and Jess. Thank you guys for watching.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.